Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome, Mike. First day. Let's make it a good one. Empty Live this week. We'll post the link in a little bit. All right. So gold is still moving up. We had two buy setups recently. Actually, well, there's three if we go back to here. Let's get a pointer. Yeah. So there was a little retest reversal there. Pivot, retested the pivot, pullback, little typical buy setup. A little hesitancy there. And then this one here that we talked about last week. And there's no reason to think otherwise, but this says it's going to make new all-time highs. Where it goes from there, who knows? 4,500, 5,000, with short-term interest rates coming down and the dollar going down, it supports it. So, and our ETF letter is long, gold and miners doing well. Silver, another little, well, we'll see. I was going to say another continuation pattern, but today is just beginning. But down bar support down here. Buyers are stepping in early. They're aggressive. That's what that tells us. So we covered this one last week. That momentum move. Again, you just continue to apply these foundational concepts. And what was resistance becomes support. Momentum move up creates a void. Rising moving averages. That confirms bullish trends in multiple time frames. It doesn't pull back. You get a bullish 180. It breaks out again. Buyers are not waiting to pull back to minor support, which means they have a high confidence level that it's going to go higher. That's what it tells us in the moment. Then we see, what does it actually do? And so we're getting a repeat of that. So while there's no pivots here, you notice there's no pivots. And why is there no pivots? Because it's has to be three bars to the left and right. Common sense. You've got two bars to the left over here, and that one broke below the lows. So in a short-term basis, there's going to be a pivot on a smaller time frame at the bottom of that bar. But they're moving in again, even though it's extended on the weekly. Buyers don't care. That's bullish. No pivots. That means bullish price action. When you don't see any pivots, that means it won't pull back. And look, everything that we look at is meant to create a belief about the present and the future. And this says it's going to go higher. Okay, let's look at Bitcoin, which has been quite indecisive. And, recently we were looking for this maybe to turn up, and it was a struggling. I said, you know what? This is kind of just like a bear flag. And now it's starting to roll over. And I don't know why that bar is green. It's below the open. Anyway, I saw some of that even in my other platform where there was green bars that were down on the below the opening price. So maybe something going on at exchanges. I'm not sure. But now we've got a pivot high, which is resistance. Momentum moved down. The weekly, the big support is down there where it bounced from initially, and it hasn't been able to advance much. Well, 80,000 to 95,000. I guess that's a pretty good advance, but in the context of this overall downtrend, it's really not that significant. And then we had this 180, which led us to believe this should go higher, and now it can't. And that's bearish. Any reason gold is up? Fear of what? Um, Inflation, Jose. Um, uh, Craziness around the world. Ukraine, Russia, fear of China, Taiwan, um, markets, you know, I suppose all of those things, but to tell you absolutely, I mean, I just would throw those items out there. But look, the trend is up, and as technical traders, that's our main focus. What's the trend? And then, as I speak about Bitcoin here, prices bounce from this level that we see on the weekly chart. And, that's usually the beginnings of a turn. And so now it creates a pivot high, which means it created resistance as it retested this high here. And so that leads me to believe a retest of this, or maybe even lower. So what we'll be looking for in the coming days and weeks, assuming this does go down, would be for it to ideally, right? So this is a momentum move, obviously. And what usually happens if it's going to make a low, and we would only assume that because we look to the left, is that it makes a lower low, but the distance between the lows does not have this kind of momentum, meaning maybe it just grinds its way down. And this is what the indicator, those that use indicators look for, where they look for, oh, look, it made a lower low, but you've got a bullish divergence on your RSI or your stochastics or your MACD or your ultimate oscillator and all that. All any of those things are looking at is obviously is the price action. And so if this goes down with slowing momentum, your indicator is going to do, something like that, where this makes a lower low and that makes a higher low. So as price traders and using price patterns, we just simply look at the momentum and how prices are moving. And if the distance between the lows is getting closer together, that means the downside momentum is slowing. And if it happens in an area of support, that's where we start putting together different concepts as to, hey, you know what? I think this is bottoming. Well, thinking doesn't mean it is, but then we look at bar by bar analysis and see, do we get some kind of wide range bar, bullish wide range bar up? And that leads us, hey, what do we do at that point? Well, typically what we do is a put spread because it's still in a downtrend. And from there, does it start to go sideways for a while? So we need more evidence of a bottom before we consider doing directional trades. All right. Markets are up a little bit here this morning. Not unusual after a big down day like we saw on Friday. We'll see how far it gets. And our factory work says, if it stays in the lower half of the wide range bar, sellers are still in control in a very short time frame, like the 65-minute. And so it's inching up a little bit here. And so this, right, momentum move down creates a void, and there's nothing to stop this from going up. So what we need to look for is this too, and whatever time frame you're going to look at, is this begin to form a pivot, right? A bar with three lower high bars to the left and right, where it then begins to create some resistance, and then we see if it goes back down again. Right now, the short term momentum is higher. It had a potent reversal. It held support. The benefit of the doubt does go to this move. And if we look at things like, we can start looking at our internals, but look at the equally weighted S&P, new all-time highs. So under the hood, so to speak, there's a lot of bullish price action going on. But there was a big nasty day on Friday. And that leads long traders or those looking to go long to say, you know what? Everything was bullish. There was a little shot across the bow there. Let's take a seat back a little bit and see what happens. Do we buy the dip to minor support? Maybe. We'll see how that shapes up. The real damage, and this is the equally weighted Qs, but you see it didn't make a new all-time high. So relative weakness, down day on Friday. And you can see that's kind of weird, huh? Something must be under the hood gapping up pretty big for that to be opening there. But let's look at the Qs themselves. That's more like it. I don't know if that was real, but here you go. It's up a little bit, but still in the bottom half of that bar. And this is what I marked off at the beginning of the day on Friday, is that bottoming tail bar being support. And it closed underneath that. It held the 50 and the 20 is converging there. And sometimes, moving averages converging like that offers a reference point as a self-fulfilling prophecy. We know they're subjective, but there is, this little support area there. And there is an unfilled gap, which hasn't been filled. So you should mark that off. Set an alert down there. If it goes down there today, that could be where it bounces from. Right now, buyers are there. And the spiders, gapping up here this morning, halfway. You see where the cursor is? Actually, maybe a little bit more than halfway, gapping a little more than halfway into that red bar. So look, while that's a significant gap in relation to that big bar, visualize closing prices in this area here. So you had this strong move up, close, 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 close. Uh-oh, it's going to go higher. Right? Two little green bars near the high, big nasty down bar. So overall, prices are just correcting this advance, just marking time in this choppy price action with overlapping bars. And we're kind of back to seeing, hey, where things are going to go. Like last week, it was just day to day. And at this point, it was like, okay, it's going to go up, gap and up. And now it's not. All right, SPX strikes have came down a lot from Friday, as you know that they would, and with a day like Friday. And so now, right, the high strike is above last week's high and slightly above 6,900. So whole numbers on SPX typically provide support and resistance. And one thing I took note of on Friday and then over the weekend was that, there was a lot of hedging. I assume hedging, or just bets that it was going to go down today, which is I would say, a reasonable thought after Friday. And so there was a big volume bet at 67.15 down here. In other words, buying cheap options, expecting, a Black Monday, so to speak, that would pay off. And so now those options are probably worth a little bit of money, but sure, considerably less than what they were. Oh, all right. All right. So 6,800, if it should go down there, should provide support. There's an unfilled gap. Unlikely, I think, to go down here. There's no significant market moving news today as far as economic news. So tomorrow there is, and I suspect that traders will be kind of just trade support and resistance today, waiting for that news to come out tomorrow. All right. Oil, moving lower. We thought it was going to be able to maintain something after this move, and it hasn't been able to. So it continues to go down. And as far as inflation goes, that's a good thing, that this is going down. Yet interest rates, and look at the 10-year interest rates breaking out above these highs. So there is this belief of these lower interest rates creating inflation. We'll see what happens, going into next year. But you have interest rates going up, two reasons: inflation belief, or the economy is going to do well. There's going to be an increase for demand for money. And we'll see which one it is, in the coming weeks and into next year. And you can see, and if this gets up into this area, continues pushing up, I don't think the markets are going to welcome that. And so you want to keep an eye to see if that does continue to move higher. And you've got the 30-year moving up even more aggressively. And you can see it's down a little bit this morning, but that's a clear breakout with a head and shoulders bottom, suggesting it's going to go higher. Okay. What else should we peek at here. The VIX is still low, can stay low. Markets can go up. That just tells us that there's a belief that volatility will stay relatively low. And obviously it can turn on a dime like it did here, and it did here. So far, overall, things are bullish, a little neutral since they're digesting the gains. And yeah, let's see what the euro's doing. That looks like it's going higher. So there's an idea. You trade currencies, that looks like it's going to go higher. It is consolidating at this pivot there, but so far, the same way we look at the price action in gold or silver or anything else, it breaks out, it won't pull back. That's a belief that it's going to go higher. And so, of course, that's what we believe. And you can certainly look at the pound, and that's closer to resistance. So the euro actually looks better than this does, if you're so interested in that. Other than that, there was lots of good price action with regional banks going up, which, the cut helps banks. Financials did well. Financials broke out of this terrible, disgusting looking pattern of overlapping bars and whipping back and forth. So plenty of positive things happening, some questionable things overall. Right now, a belief that the markets will go higher, still consolidating, and we'll wait for the news this week. You, Dan?
Good morning. Santa Claus is still in the background. Alex asked me Friday if I was bullish into the close, and I said not. I no, if I was bearish, and I said no, not bearish, but a controlled pullback from this 180 breakout failure. Now that this is a very big gap up today, I don't know why. The news didn't say a word about any excitement or earnings or anything, so I have no idea. Who cares? So we have a ton of ideas though, long and short, and we'll just do what we do every single day. Alarms, DHI had a little up alarm. It's a housing stock buy setup. Um, I like it for a put spread. The 150s for Friday. NAC alarm, actually a down alarm. But that we're already in this long calls, but that's a nice 1, 2, 3 to add over the highs. Call up alarm. We're in this in the ETF letter we bought. This breakout right here on 12.3. Pulled back a little bit, and now it's gapping over a red bar. Looks great. McDonald's wide range breakout. It's trading crazy, overlapping bars. But then Friday was your closing something range expansion bar. Look at the EMAs showing a nice consolidation. So that looks good. Now the directional plug. And plug in a bat. I'm watching bottoming patterns. So this is one, Greg, we can talk about on Wednesday when we do dumpster diving. It's a perfect candidate. Then we'll talk about it Wednesday.
The quantum stocks, to a lesser degree, I mean, they look a little better than more up than that, but
yeah,
there's lots of patterns that, these bottoming type things, and some of them have been working out really well, and some of them, as you would suspect, they're bottoming stocks and they don't, but you know, which ones do and which ones don't, that's the more difficult part.
here's another one. EVH looks great. Looks great for a bottoming pattern. It's just you got a small little retest on the weekly. if this goes to $5, that's a monster return. And 88 cents divided by 412. So that alarm went off. I actually bought some pre-market. I was bidding. I got filled. Shop. We have a put spread. Went against us on Friday, but held the stop. Now it's up. Let me reset the alarm. I'll check the premium at the open. If we have a nice open gain, I'll move it to break even. And Tesla alarm, that's put spread idea. I don't like it directional. It's too wild, plus there's no good void, but a put spread, I like it. And that's the beauty of put spreads. Here's just, stay away from the short strike, bobble around. Amgen alarm, we're watching this for a turn. It's off to a good start, 320. So that could be a 30-minute high. If the 30, well, we'll wait 30 minutes, see if it's bullish price action. Then we could, this is just a bias. If it sets up, then we buy the high of Thursday or the 30-minute high, the higher of those two numbers. USAR, another buyback pattern. There you go, Greg. That's the rare earth stock. No, but you said nuclear, but yeah, nuclear, rare earth. I mean, a lot of these beat up sectors that we've been trading, but look, that's an inverse head and shoulder pattern. Looks great, but it has to take out Friday's high. All right, that's all my alarms. Let's just go to my big interest list here. FMC, another bottoming. They're all over the place. Look at iRobot announced they were going to file bankruptcy over the weekend. So, you might ask yourself, well, why would a company filing bankruptcy still be trading at $1.21? And the answer is simple. Particularly if it's Chapter 7 reorg, because there's still value perceived by the shareholders when it comes out of bankruptcy. So that's the answer. So I'll watch that. PRMB alarm, another bottoming pattern. Now this one already made the turn. So this one is more confident that it's going to hold than some of those others that I showed you, that like FMC. See, FMC, it's just going sideways above the 20, but that other one, PRMB, has made the turn. NOW was in the news, got a downgrade. Oh, I think they're trying to buy some company. That's an ugly gap. Look at all the MAs though. Yeah, we'll come back. Maybe 30-minute high put spread. LYV was in the news. They have a class action against them. Says it's gapping down $4. Dow, let's see if it'll turn here. If it can hold right here, 50% into this. But look, it's another bottoming pattern for Wednesday's class. Bottoming pattern doesn't mean it has to be $3. Here's $24 stock, but it's a bottoming pattern. Look, it's down from 70. It's still, the monthly is still in a downtrend. But we go to a smaller time frame to try to get the turn on a bigger time frame to anticipate getting in at the low of the turn. MSOS says Wednesday's class. We've been watching this thing since it came out, and we bought it a few times. We bought it here, we bought it here, we bought it here. But now the problem is it's up too much. You know, look how far from a 20 it is. But we'll watch that. ARBB. That this looks like this is a footprint of a pump and dump. Look, every time it goes up, it just gets smacked in the head. I mean, it did hold. It did hold Friday, and it's gapping up, but I'm not messing with it. Bro, it's okay, Patrick, for a 15-minute day trade. It's a beautiful 15-minute chart. There's no pattern to buy it as they swing. It's range bound and up 2 bars. But I love the 15. MMC is a better swing just because it's a closing breakout. Another bottoming pattern from an expensive company. You know, you don't have a great void here. It's right at this breakdown area. So, you know, I'd say, yeah, of course. So I'd say 15-minute charts are your best for day trades. And then depending on how MMC closes, maybe you can hold some. Inga. Meta. So Inga, welcome, because I don't recognize your name. Number one. Number two, it helps us if you can tell us what you're thinking, because I don't see anything. Oh, and what posted Greg make? I don't know what you're thinking. It's a pullback to support, but it's a bearish red inside bar. It's a bearish 15. It's relative weakness to the Qs gapping up. This is not gapping up. So nothing is jumping out at me of interest. But so I want to answer you and help you, but you're always bullish on Meta. All right, well, I hope you I hope you stick around in the green room, because I promise you we're going to change that belief of yours with objective and subjective analysis. Okay. I mean, just look at the moving averages. How can you say that you want to be bullish on this all the time? It's a sell setup on the weekly, but we'll come back to it. We don't have time. Apple alarm. I gave this as a put spread. I wanted to watch a trade for 30 minutes before I considered a swing. But Thursday is bottoming tail as a downside shakeout. So it's a breakout after a buy setup. You can see it just popped here, set my alarm off. Let me tell the weekly that if anything's gapping over, coming up. And let's just continue here. Watch list. FDN. That's a closing breakdown. So I got an alarm down there, the Q's up, you know, that's going to gap up too. Sky needs to go sideways more, housing stock. All right, got some alarms going off here. RDN, it's at the top of the range. I would like it to go sideways another day or two. Oh, but look, it's gapping, it's a gap breakout. So maybe, so maybe 30-minute high. RDN, we can watch it. Well, buy setup, but we don't have a potent turn, but it is a buy setup at the 50. So let's watch that maybe 30-minute high. Well, got that down there. That thing. All right, PGY is a short. That was in the letter, so that's triggering cleanly. 2263. And say, you know, I told you we could bunch of longs and shorts. And the reason I don't mind, I just got filled on something. I didn't know I had an order up. Look, maybe I had a GTC order. The reason I don't mind taking shorts with the market gapping up is why? Just conceptually, why? Answer, I'll tell you. Answer, because it's a good pattern. And if it's triggering, it's relative weakness to the broader market. So that's the answer. I just had Iran go off. Another short descending triangle. Shop up alarm. So now let me check the credit. 39.31. Yeah, we have 157 for 88. Oh, that's spreading. Yuck. That's 52. So let's move stop below under 166. That's a nice recovery after Friday's weakness. Twilio up alarm. I forget what that one looks like. Amgen up alarm. So with this pullback in Apple, we should have gotten filled in that put spread. Tesla's ripping. We had that as a put spread, so I doubt we're going to get filled on that. Learn. Another, there's a bottoming pattern, piece of garbage. GitLab triggering. Wow, we had 3 shorts trigger already in the first 5 minutes. Wow. I see Bitcoin selling off 89,000, so that's sweet. NAK, hey, there's our NAK up alarm. Nice. Alarm 230. Low alarm 213. Wow, FDN low alarm. That I would short tomorrow as a 1, 2, 3 if it closed like that. All right, Amgen. Amgen looks better. I think I checked put spread, but let me look again. Oh shit, our forward is Oh, well, I sold my Ford on Friday. Okay, so Ford is stopping out. Um, Ford, 13, 13. No, it didn't. 1358. So it's an ugly pullback, but no, we're not out yet. What did I get filled on? Ah, EVH, that it was bidding pre-market. All right, that's what it is. Yeah, see, I was bidding 412. I just got filled on that pullback. So now I'm gonna change it over 422 EVH. Engine, I'm gonna watch. Twilio. Ah, that's why Twilio. Yeah, I think John mentioned this last week, and I said I wanted it to go sideways more. So I will now set a new alarm, 135.60. Well, yeah, it's fine. And for a 30-minute high, just let it bobble around more. Circle low alarm. Oh, shoot. We bought that actually on Friday as a bottoming pattern. And it is stopping out, man. That was a breakout failure. Yeah, that's ugly. I think I heard the guy say the CEO was going to be on Squawk on CNBC this morning. All right, D-Dog, we're in trail mode. Let me go through opens real quick. FISV, another bottoming pattern we bought. 68, 64. That's the break even alarm. Market's coming in here. Q's spider, they're coming in harder than they should be, considering the size of the bullish gap. Yeah. I like that one. Let's see now that's a potent turn because of the downside 180. So that one I like. Yeah, let's do that. As opposed to waiting for 30 minutes. That one's good to go. Yeah, that looks good. Let me check calls and puts also. Monster Mash. So the foot spread would be 72.50. 10 cents by 20. And the calls start to spreading, so forget that. All right, I'm all the way behind in alerts. Alex, your Sky alarm. Ideally, it closes like this, but I always have early alarms. Oh, eBay. This thing is such a dog. And remember, oh, hey, at least I move stop break even. Remember? Oh, Apple. Yeah, that must be why cues were accelerating a little bit. But yeah, that's a nasty 5-minute bar. Ah, we're not in eBay. All right, good. Ah, we are a put spread, not directional. But the stop is 82.18, so it's an early alarm. But you're still a dog. Yeah, we got out of the directional last week. Oh, I gave it as a directional over the high. So now I'm going to cancel that. ATRO alarm, but I want it to go sideways more. A bat. Hey, a bat alarm. I'll just reset it. 432. Wowzer. Put our Hilton. Man, we still got a third. You know what? Let's just trail 15-minute bars. Hig up alarm, nice, move it under 135. Yeah, that was an amazing recovery from that swan dive, Dave, Patrick. Your well is moving, Alex, nice. I had it in a window. Microsoft I had given as a call spread. There's another bottoming pattern that's failing. We're 10 cents from the stop. Back alarm. Bitcoin at the low. That's Microsoft. Oh, Microsoft hasn't triggered under last week's low. That's call spread. Rig T, we are not in, but my low alarm went off. So I'm gonna cancel this as a long D-Dog new low, good. Keep my alarm on Rig T, but no interest. D-Dog, nice. 49. EOSE, I don't remember him. Oh, man, yeah, a lot of these bottoming patterns now, Greg, are, are not acting so well. Mike Papa triggering. Archer's 8. Oh, Archer stopped out. Should.
It's very hard to say why, but maybe after a day like Friday, and especially bottoming patterns, I feel about them. Sometimes they work, but that was like a shot across the bow Friday, and people, I guess, are a little nervous. And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to give them more room or just step aside. Just by nature of the pattern, that there's a lot of people holding losses. So
We have Bitcoin accelerating. And Mike Papa was a call spread also, 61.65. $32. So we're not filled. Okay, 150, 146. July, work. Microsoft triggering. Let's see what the juice bar is. $4.90, $4.95. D-Dog new low. $46, and I wanted 65, so that's not gonna trigger yet. Unless we get a bounce. All right, D-Dog, we're gonna smooth up the high now. Oh, I already did 148.02. Okay. Oh, I ran. Nice. A nice quick gain in my room.